So, I've been pretty addicted to this little zombie survival game called Project Zomboid. I made a video talking about it actually, and was surprised when that video did pretty well. Thanks for the really kind comments, guys. They meant a lot to me. Something that is pretty obvious if you spend a few minutes on my channel is that I'm old and love video games. But what you might not realize is that I have a severe mental disorder, schizoaffective. Schizoaffective disorder is a combination of schizophrenic symptoms and mood disorder symptoms. Basically, I'm certifiably insane and depressed about it too. I was intrigued when I saw a mod for the schizophrenic trait in Project Zomboid. See, I've often wondered what being crazy would be like during some sort of apocalypse, especially one that involves zombies or vampires or something supernatural. Some horror that could be in your head, but it's not. Now you've got to be on your game constantly in an attempt to recognize what is real, what is a hallucination. You've got delusions to worry about, something that I don't think the mod can simulate very well, and that's a good thing. But more importantly, you're going to be on a constant hunt for antipsychotics, and very specific ones at that. You can't just pop any antipsychotic or antidepressant. It doesn't work that way. There are a myriad of side effects and symptoms. It often feels like trial and error dealing with getting your prescriptions correct. Project Zomboid obviously didn't want to torture you by making you hunt down specific antidepressants, and the mod creator didn't feel like doing that either, thank God. That would be a nightmare on top of the bullshit you're already dealing with. But I digress. First thing I noticed was that taking this trait gives you 7 free points, which made me pretty excited. I did my usual stack, taking thin skin, smoker, weak stomach, prone to illness. My philosophy here is don't eat rotten food and don't get fucking hit. And my positive traits were graceful, burglar, stout, handy, and gymnast. I put emphasis on stealth because I'm still salty about being called out about how bad I was at it back in 1998 or whatever. And also, I'm generally bad at combat, so I try to avoid it when I can. I've watched some other YouTubers play with the trait, and it didn't appear to be that intense. In fact, it seemed mild and unintrusive. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention, because once I got started with it, I realized the experience was going to be quite intense and interruptive of gameplay. Let's start from the beginning. As always, I died a few times, but I did have quite a few interesting things happen leading up to those deaths. In the first run, I started in a rather large house and almost immediately found a car key to a working vehicle outside. Unfortunately, it didn't have gas. That doesn't matter though, because that character died horribly within 4 in-game hours. Yeah, her fate was sealed from the gate. I started a new character who also didn't last very long. After struggling through hordes and hiding out in the Rosewood courthouse, the brave second survivor also ended up dead, getting a deadly bite in a very stupid way. I don't know why I turned around like that. For the record, I use a controller because I just plain don't like using a keyboard in games, though to be honest, pressing down on L3 when panicking has screwed me over a few times, especially when it turns auto walk on. And let me just say, I fucking hate auto walk. It's stupid. Someone please give me an example of what benefit auto walk has. Here's some things I experienced with my first 2 survivors. A zombie was hallucinated, causing my character to scream uncontrollably. I wondered if zombies in the perimeter could hear this, and I think I found out the answer to that later. It's yes. I faced off against a huge horde just for some cigarettes, and during the battle, there were several instances of the bite sound happening when my character hadn't been bitten or scratched. And these sounds were well timed, usually occurring right when a hit connected or when I had a close call. When I finally reached a safe spot to sleep for the night, I awoke to what I can only describe as creepy Silent Hill-esque sounds. After getting bit, I gorged on some sweets, then went out fighting until the bitter end. This time, I started a brand new save. I spawned in a small house and quickly realized I was kind of poor this time around, finding only a leak in the fridge and some canned food, but notably no can opener. I'm running a mod that spawns you by profession, so burglars sometimes have a chance to spawn in a nice big house with lots of loot and weapons to start with. This wasn't one of those times. I brushed it off, not realizing this start was foreshadowing how unlucky this run was about to be. I turned on the TV. I usually center my first 10 days around catching certain shows at 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. It isn't the most compelling gameplay, but catching as many TV shows as you can on the Life and Living Network helps you level carpentry and cooking. I'm currently reading Berserk, so I like to get through a few chapters while my character watches her programs and reads skill books. I'd also like to note that the I Love Walkin' Rolls commercial is so 90s, it hurts. I grew up in the 90s, and I remember cringeworthy music videos, commercials, and popular programming in the 90s and 80s. Next time you're bored, watch the music video for Sunglasses at Night. Oh, and if you spawn in Louisville, you can actually find I Love Walkin' Rolls and get some nice ingredients and snacks. Anywho, I sat down and learned how to make chicken noodle soup, feeling a false sense of security, sort of forgetting the entire reason for this playthrough, you know, the schizophrenia. Shortly after the cooking show, my character hallucinated a fucking zombie appearing in her kitchen and started screaming. Aside from the jump scare, the heavy breathing and screaming characters with the schizophrenic trait do unnerves me. It adds another dimension of gameplay, and I like it. I don't like it so much when they start giggling while fighting zombies, but what can you do? Soon after, I adventured outside in search of a better weapon, a vehicle, food, cigarettes, in whichever order those things may come. I currently only had a saucepan, which would break pretty soon. I knew I needed something better to use as a weapon. Side note, this run made me realize how valuable the graceful trait really is. I feel like I was walking up to some zombies and they wouldn't notice me until I was right up on them. Again, I favor stealth, so this helped a lot. Unfortunately, this wasn't going to be a lucky run. Not like the one I'd had previously where I somehow found 3 generators just on the street I spawned on. No, instead I set off a couple alarms here and there and ended up running for my lives quite a bit. I think it was my second night when I awoke to the sound of a window breaking. Of course, it was a hallucination, but I was starting to have trouble telling the difference between what was actually happening in the game and what my character was hallucinating, which is what being crazy is actually like, so there you go. This game does have its scary moments, and they were being intensified by the schizophrenic trait. When I woke up to the fake broken window, the sound of the helicopter started, and for a moment I thought, it's starting this early in? No, it wasn't. That was my character hallucinating. It was only day 2 and 2:40 in the morning. The helicopter event simply doesn't happen at these times. Unable to get back to sleep, I read some skill books, watched some shows and leveled up, then headed out. It didn't take long for me to run into hordes and get almost overrun. Minutes after leaving my safe house, I was being followed by multiple hordes and tried to lose them at the school, remembering once again that I needed to acquire a vehicle and some smokes. I had gotten a pipe wrench along the way, and it was doing well as a weapon, but a car would vastly improve my chances of survival. I did manage to lose the massive hordes by hopping a fence and fighting off a few loiterers out in front of the school. I raided the school for what I could, then moved on, still jonesing for a smoke and a car. I happened to see a halfway decent looking vehicle. Of course, opening the hood to check it out triggered another alarm, causing me to hightail it out of there as quick as possible. I found what I thought would be a safe house to hide in until the horde blew by, but holy shit was I wrong when this fucking happened. It was a really stupid idea to try and rest knowing zombies were about to break in from both sides, but I am not a smart person who is known for making good decisions. I was fatigued and trying desperately to come back from it. Yeah, I have no idea how many of them came spilling out of that room, but I didn't have time to count as I was kind of running for my life. Friends, things weren't going well. I found a garage with some plastic chairs, so I rested up, wondering how I was going to get somewhere safe. They were swarming everywhere, and there was still a chance one saw me duck into this garage. One definitely was banging on a door nearby, so I needed to make a quick escape. I decided to try the house the garage belonged to. Maybe it would be safe. And surely another alarm wouldn't sound. Surely my luck couldn't be that bad. Yeah, so it turns out my luck is that bad. After running away from a ton of hordes again, I ended up in the vicinity of the 24-hour Zippy Mart, which meant cigarettes and lighters. I knew it was going to be tough, but my God, I needed those cigarettes. Additionally, there were apartments above the Zippy Mart, somewhere I can make a temporary base while I got myself sorted. Apartments also meant fridges and cabinets, which meant food. I still had a horde behind me, and there were a few zombies hanging around and inside of the mart. And of course, the front doors were locked. I went around the back, and another fake helicopter event started up again, throwing me off and making me question what I'd learned. Do helicopter events only happen after the 5th day and during daytime hours, or was I wrong? Regardless, I needed to get inside, get my smokes, and get to the apartments. I was tired, hungry, and thirsty. It was only a matter of time before I got fatigued again. Quick question. What do you think happened when I opened this door? A. Nothing. B. A horde of zombies were waiting on the other side. Or C. A fucking alarm went off. If you guessed C, you'd be correct, as this run had proven to me that the RNG just didn't give a fuck and wanted to shit in my Wheaties, or post-apocalyptic Wheaties I should say, at every chance it could get. The alarm did cut shortly, but the damage had been done. I'd made it into the apartments, but I could hear zombies banging on walls and doors all over. I was not safe. I killed the zombies hanging around inside the complex, then headed down to the Zippy Mart to finally get my smokes, which surprisingly went pretty dang well. And here is an example of how good the graceful trait works out. This bitch did not notice me the entire time. I cleaned up the zombies out front, got inside, and got my smokes and a few snacks, then went back up the stairs for the night. I looted a few apartments and set up my temporary base in one directly above the mart. As I was putting my loot away, this happened. I genuinely got scared, as the sound was loud and almost sounded like it was in my real house. There had been other times when the jump scare music played a few times, but there was no zombie, and I got terrified, looking around to see if there was a zombie hiding out, waiting to jump me. These moments had me on edge, but something about the random crash really got to me. Not much else happened after this. I got my loot away, read some books, and watched more Life and Living TV. I still need to lock down some essentials like a car, a few gas cans, and of course, a generator. My next adventure is taking on the fire station to get some good weapons and loot, and if I can make it past a week and get a decent car, maybe I'll head out of town and get on the road to Louisville, which is guaranteed to be an adventure with the schizophrenic trait. After playing with the mod for a few hours, I'd have to say that overall, I love it. It's well made and mixes up the gameplay in a unique way. The symptoms relying on stress is accurate in my experience, as my symptoms are likely to get worse when I'm in a stressful situation. And when the symptoms occurred, I would get easily confused. Also accurate, to be honest. Time and time again, I had to wonder if what I was hearing was really happening, such as windows breaking and zombies breathing close by or banging on doors. Full disclosure, hearing random sounds is commonplace when it comes to auditory hallucinations, which is why I think that crash startled me so much. It was an accurate portrayal. One thing I'd love to see added is hearing muffled music sometimes play in the background, as that is also a common symptom, though admittedly, that would interfere with players who have the music on during gameplay, which is probably most of them. I turn it off, but I think most people play with the music on. Maybe every once in a while, hearing the good old $7 billion play when there's no TV or radio in sight. If there was inner dialogue in this game, it would be funny to see your character having paranoid thoughts, especially in multiplayer, when they're around other players or later down the line when NPCs get added. Imagine your guy always checking windows or mumbling to themselves about government conspiracies. It'd be fucking gold. I found this mod pretty dang cool, especially since I have thought so much about what it would be like to be schizophrenic during the apocalypse. It was fun and unsettling and had a genuine horror feel at times, changing the experience just enough to make it feel fresh, but not like a totally different game. I'm sure most Zomboid fans know about this mod or have used it, but for those who haven't, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Shout out to the mod maker, Mr. Love, who did a fantastic job. As always, thanks for watching. I think they're like eating somebody right outside my door. Literally. Yeah, look. They are literally munching on someone right there. Okay, lovely.